Ben Stokes chose an ideal day to record the best bowling figures of his career of 7 for 67 as his Durham side moved well ahead of Sussex on the second day of the LV County Championship match at the Emirates Durham International Cricket Ground. The visitors set off at the start of the second morning on 20 without loss in reply to their host 337, which had been made after they'd recovered from 202 for 7 at one point. Chris Nash and Luke Wells had seen out the final half a dozen overs on the previous evening, and they gave their side an encouraging start to this day. It wasn't all plain sailing, however. Wells tried to lead this ball from John Hastings alone, but he gained 4 runs as he sent it over the slips. With the score on 52, Stokes was brought on just after a ball change, and with his 5th delivery, he found the edge of Wells' bat. Phil Mustard spilled the chance, but the rebound was held onto by an alert Scott Borthwick. Nash struck Paul Coughlin for back-to-back boundaries, but the young bowler quickly had his revenge as the opener nicked a wide one. This time Mustard did well enough to deflect the ball to Paul Collingwood to go for 36 at 66 for 2. 3 runs later, Rory Hamilton-Brown also used the edge of his bat off Stokes, with Mustard this time clinging on to a good one behind the stumps. This was part of what became a rather worrying collapse for Sussex. With a total on 75, Ed Joyce had his stumps rearranged by Stokes, who then had Ben Brown adjudged to have nicked behind in his next over with a short and sharp delivery. Not that the batsman was at all pleased with the decision. The England all-rounder now had 4 wickets for 10 runs in 7 overs of excellent and hostile bowling. Of course, at the same time down at Headingley, England was struggling to find such aggression. This performance from Stokes will not have gone unnoticed. Luke Wright decided that, with Stokes bowling so well, he needed to score runs at the other end to get his side out of a hole, which had seen them slump to 79 for 5. Even any boundary off Stokes came with a bit of fortune, this edge flying over the slips. Wright had added an important 54-run partnership with Stephen Pilot, who then gave Stokes his 5th wicket as he played on. For the Durham man, that was now the 3rd 5-wicket haul of his career, his last one coming for England in Sydney. It was a performance which really stood out. The Sussex batsmen, especially Wright, found life against the other Durham pacemen much easier. Wright's knock was starting to hold this innings together just when the home side started to think about the possibility of a follow-on. 188 was the target to avoid that for Sussex, but they lost their 7th wicket on 164 when James Treadwell edged a short ball from Hastings to Borthwick after making 16. 12 more runs were still wanted when Hastings struck again to have Steve McGoffin held by Mustard on 5. Back on after a rest, Stokes was looking to finish the innings off, but found Wright in good form. This top edge brought the all-rounder his 8th boundary to take him to his half-century of 79 balls. It had been a knock at odds with the rest in this innings. Stokes' previous best with the ball was the 6 for 68 he bagged against Hampshire 3 years ago. His 6th success here came when John Lewis was the latest to nick off. 3 more runs were still required to avoid the follow-on, and it was down to Wright that they were able to do that. He actually took the total to 205, ending unbeaten on 66. Then Lewis Hatchett played on, and Stokes had a career best of 7 for 67. It was a brilliant effort from the 23-year-old, who will surely be back on the international stage before too long. Almost alone, he'd given his side a lead of 132 runs. Durham had the last session to add what they could to that, and Mark Stoneman again began his knock with a few boundaries. He and Keaton Jennings make an ideal pairing at the top of the order, one looking to play his shots while the other can be a very difficult man to get out, and one who's not afraid of putting bat to ball either. This time the pair added 35 runs to their lead in just 6 overs. Stoneman made a thrilling 100 on the first day, but here he was out for a runner ball 22 with an edge off Lewis to Treadwell. But that was to be the only success for Sussex for the remainder of the day. They started this season in such fantastic form, but have not been at their best since, not helped by injuries of course. Jennings and Borthwick got their heads down for the rest of the day just to rub salt into the visitors' wounds. They are being left with a lot to do to save this match, as Durham look to make it 2 wins out of 2, having not won a championship game until last time out. Their lead stands at 237 runs at the halfway stage of this contest, and they'll look to add plenty more to that on day 3, which will see them resume their second innings on 105 for 1, with Jennings on 46 and Borthwick on 22.